Right now, some areas of Dallas are seeing these huge price corrections, while you have others within just a few miles where prices are literally skyrocketing. And we're talking multiple offer situations and offers above the list price. This is the insanity of Dallas. So today, I'm going to show you exactly which overpriced suburbs are going through the roof that we're gonna see are honestly overrated when it comes to cost versus value. Then be sure to stick around to the end because we're gonna talk about some alternatives, like literally across the highway, in some instances, suburbs where prices are correcting, where it's a buyer's market, and honestly just where your money will stretch a whole lot further. Let's start out by talking about Farmers Branch. The market in Farmers Branch has been on fire this year. Just look at the numbers. The median sales price just hit $500,000, which is up a staggering, okay, you ready for this? 25% from last year. Closed sales are up 32%, and homes are flying off the market in just 16 days. Now, quick check in on property taxes, and you should know they're about average, okay? There's nothing special here. A $500,000 home runs you roughly $7,847 per year after the homestead exemption. So why is the market booming here? Well, part of the reason is its location, okay? You're right outside the 635 hub, North Dallas territory, and also people love Farmers Branch for its parks, okay? It's literally nicknamed the city in a park with over 30 of them. So you're close to the city, but also plenty of green space. You also have easy access to big name shopping like the Galleria and North Park. Plus, it is surrounded by major highways, so that makes it feel like super connected. So it does have some great things about it, but remember, okay, we're talking about an overpriced suburb here. So let's talk about some core issues we want to evaluate in any suburb. The schools here are in the Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD, and only 39% of schools score above average on greatschools.org. The district also earned a C rating from the Texas Education Agency. And it's not like crime is anything to brag about either. Niche.com gives Farmers Branch a C+ rating for crime. You're also going to find in Farmers Branch a very densely populated area with over 3,100 people per square mile. You can expect to be looking at older homes also in Farmers Branch. The median year built is 1980, all right? And you will see mature trees, okay? And those are definitely a perk. I mean, I get that, but at the same time, you can't expect anything new or turnkey. You're going to have around a 35-minute commute to downtown. Again, not atrocious, but I mean, with that, you're gonna have to plan on a lot of traffic, right? Another important thing you wanna keep in mind is Farmers Branch, okay, it only has a 46% owner occupancy rate. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, it's not that there's anything inherently wrong with rental properties, okay? They serve a very needed purpose, but owner-occupied communities tend to be more well-maintained. And also owners put down deeper roots, and they're more likely to do things like planting flowers and trees. So you have in Farmers Branch, okay, a suburb with more turnover, lower rated schools, and higher crime. So you have to ask yourself, is this worth bidding into multiple offers? If you know anything about Dallas, you're probably not gonna be surprised to hear that Highland Park is the next overpriced area on the list. The median sales price, okay, no joke, it's probably not gonna be a surprise though, $3,422,500. And that's up, okay, 18% this year. Closed sales are also up by 9.1%. And you know, with homes that pricey, you might think they'd have issues selling, but the data shows that homes are selling after only 15 days on the market. Now, when it comes to property taxes in Highland Park, let's go ahead and talk about that. They do have a low rate, all right? Problem is, with your values being so high, you know, you could easily pay like, I don't know, 30, 40, 50,000 a year or more. Now, not that you could even remotely find a house for this price, but I want to put it in perspective, okay? A $500,000 house with a homestead exemption would run you about $5,220 a year. All right, so do want you to see that the property tax rate is way better than Farmers Branch. But again, a $500,000 house in Highland Park is just not happening. So what do people like so much about Highland Park that they are jumping at the opportunity to pay way over $3 million to live there? Well, the school ratings are a huge factor. as well they should be. Great Schools shows that Highland Park ISD students are scoring 100% above average, and the TEA gives them an A rating. Highland Park also has excellent shopping. Okay, it's got excellent shopping here. Close to most of Dallas's best malls, plus you're gonna have Highland Park Village and the shops at Highland Village right around the corner. In addition to all that, you've got a lot of green space. You've got beautiful parks and paved trails. So just as you're driving through, okay, this is a very aesthetically pleasing area. Like if you take a drive, okay, you're gonna find tree-lined streets with classic architecture like colonials, Tudors, and they've got Mediterranean estates. Also right there in that area, you have Lakeside Park, which is just a walk away from many of the homes there. And that, I'm telling you, is a visual feast. It has these beautiful walking paths, duck ponds, fountains. It's especially known for its cute little teddy bear statues, and then, you know, your views of Turtle Creek. A fun fact about Highland Park, it has a really strict tree planting and landscape program. Okay, so you are going to see a neighborhood that is very lush and very well maintained year-round. Well, that all sounds wonderful, but let's talk about some reasons why Highland Park may not be the best value. Surprisingly, even with all the upscale amenities, Niche.com gives it a B rating when it comes to crime. Location-wise, okay, Highland Park is just a few miles from downtown Dallas, but, okay, because it's so densely populated at like 4,000 people a square mile, all right, expect to see some pretty high traffic. Like during rush hour, you can expect about a 25-minute commute, which is not horrible, okay? It's just that, you know, it's gonna be through a lot of traffic. And that being said, you do have great highway access, okay? It's right in the middle between the tollway and 75. Now, all right, this stat may surprise you, okay, but true story. Despite the high prices, Data USA reports an 87% owner occupancy rate. And you might be wondering, why are people so willing to pay that $3 million price tag? And honestly, people buy here for the prestige, okay, for the name, but you can get way more bang for your buck for similar homes elsewhere in Dallas. Now let's head up north on the tollway and closer to Louisville Lake and talk about the Colony. The median home price in the Colony is now $495,000, which is up nearly 10% year over year. Closed sales are up 2% and homes are taking about 23 days to sell. But here's what you really need to know, okay? This suburb has the highest property taxes of all the areas we're talking about today. On a $500,000 home with a homestead exemption, we're looking at about $8,480 a year, which means you are paying roughly $128 more per month than you would, for example, like if it was in Frisco for the same value house. So what are people paying for? Well, the Colony is packed with entertainment options, okay? You've got Grandscape, all right, that is their crown jewel. It has everything from Andretti indoor karting, laser tag, it's got game rooms, escape adventures, and even deep water indoor surfing at Fireside Surf. It's like a playground for adults and families alike, all right? Plus you've got access to Lake Louisville and Hawaiian Falls, you know, just kind of adding into that whole outdoor fun element. But when it comes to long-term value, okay, there are a few red flags that you need to know about, okay? You ready for this? Schools are split between Louisville ISD and Little Elm ISD, okay? Louisville is decent. It's got a TEA rating of a B and 62% of students scoring above average, but Little Elm scores much lower with only 11% of students scoring above average and a TEA rating of a C. All right, crime is rated a B by Niche.com, and you have a little bit of new construction, but overall your median year built is in the early 2000s, so you've got a somewhat older suburb. When it comes to your commute, you're looking at about a 60-minute commute to downtown Dallas, and you really don't have great highway access, okay? You're limited mainly to like the Sam Rayburn Tollway. So the Colony, it has entertainment to offer, but those school ratings by Great Schools and the TEA alone, okay, that would give me pause. And then you take that and you couple it with prices being up 10% year over year, and I would have to say the Colony is a little overrated. Now, if you head directly south on Josie Lane, you'll end up at our next overpriced suburb. So let's talk about Carrollton. All right, Carrollton's market has also been heating up this year with a median sales price of $449,250, up 7% from last year. Closed sales jumped nearly 26%, and homes are moving fast averaging just 16 days on the market. If we check in on the property taxes, we're gonna see they're very close to what we saw in Farmers Branch, coming in at around $7,828 a year. On the surface, it looks like a strong, active market, and there's definitely a lot to like about Carrollton. I mean, it is a true cultural melting pot. It's super well known for its diverse food scene. Okay, you've got lots of different kinds of ethnic restaurants. I love that about Carrollton. You also have a lot of unique shops. Plus, it also has a very charming historic town square, and so people like that. You've also got miles of paved hike and biking trails. Carrollton also offers public transportation, okay, which in that alone is going to set it apart from many of our other suburbs. But when you start digging into the details, okay, the value becomes a little murkier. The schools are mainly part of Carrollton Farmers Branch ISD, where only 39% of students score above average on great schools. And the district has a C rating from the Texas Education Agency. Also, crime is rated a C+ by niche.com. Now, I will say, highway access is fantastic. I mean, you have connections to the President George Bush Turnpike, Sam Rayburn, as well as I-35. But even with all that, okay, it is still a 40-minute drive to downtown Dallas. Your population density, 3,600 people a square mile. So once again, expect your traffic because you're gonna have it. Also, it's not the place to look if you like new construction, okay? You're not gonna find it. Most of the homes are older and foundation issues are very common in Carrollton. The owner occupancy rate, again, not a great thing here, it's 58%. So you're gonna run into a lot of rental occupied homes and a higher turnover. So once again, we find ourselves in a suburb with short days on the market, home prices on the rise, but with not a whole lot to show for it. Now for a change of pace, a smaller suburb, but still coming in at overpriced, let's head west and check out Trophy Club. Now this is a suburb that caters to those with a higher price range. The median sales price is $934,250, and it's up pretty significantly year over year with a 17.3% change. Closed sales are also trending up at 16.7%, and homes are selling fairly quickly at about 22 days on the market. Property taxes in Trophy Club fall somewhere in the middle. All right, they're not the highest, but they're definitely not the lowest either. On a $500,000 home, you'd be looking at around $7,338 a year. So what do people like about Trophy Club? Okay, what is it that's drawing them there? Well, the crime ratings are the best of all the areas we're talking about today. Okay, they come in at an A-. The owner occupancy rate is also the best at 89%. Residents say they love the small town feel. They talk about the plethora of parks and green spaces, especially golf courses. In fact, it's very well known for its golf. Also, something that's really nice about Trophy Club, okay, is you are surrounded by very affluent suburbs like Westlake and Southlake. Southlake has fantastic shopping, and so you're close enough in Trophy Club that you really get to benefit from that. Now, unfortunately, the school district in Trophy Club is Northwest ISD, which is not terrible, but okay, it's nothing great either. 55% of students are scoring above average according to Great Schools, and the TEA gave them a B rating. So yeah, for me personally, the price tag here, you really want to be getting A-rated schools. Now, in terms of commute, all right, it's definitely a drive to downtown Dallas at about like a good 50 minutes or more. But if you're commuting to downtown Fort Worth, okay, in that case, it's only 30 minutes. The southern edge of Trophy Club has great access to Highway 114, but the rest of the town is not as well connected. So you have this smallish suburb, okay, with a high cost of living, not much in the way of amenities and dining within the town itself, and really not the best schools to be excited about. I mean, so you have to think about all of these things when you're talking about home prices going up 17% year over year. Now let's head back east and to the north and talk about Frisco. Now, if you do a search on moving to Dallas, Frisco's gonna come up. All right, it has been a buzzword for a long time, and it is definitely clickbait on YouTube. So no surprise, median sales price shows that. Okay, it comes in at $685,000, and that's been mostly steady this year. Okay, currently we're looking at like a negative 0.1% change. Closed sales here are down by 9.4%, and the days on market are sitting at 36. So this is not a suburb where we're seeing massive price increases, but it is one that's coming in a lot higher. When you compare Frisco to neighboring suburbs, okay, you're going to get more bang for your buck just a few miles away. Checking in on Frisco's property taxes, they actually come in a little lower compared to what we've seen so far. We're looking at around $69.43 per year. But okay, I said Frisco is popular. Okay, it's the buzzwords. Let's go ahead and take a look at why. These schools are a great start. Okay, 97% of students in Frisco ISD are scoring above average, and the TEA rating is an A. It's also, and Frisco definitely has this going for it, it's kind of like an all-in-one city. Like you have outstanding shopping, excellent shopping, dining, entertainment, and they're really focused, they've really kind of planned the city around walkability. And what I mean by that is you have a lot of parks and paved trails that connect to one another. Their town square is a happening spot, and that's another good feature that people like you have a lot of shops and dining and events there. When I have buyers that say they want to buy in Frisco, okay, usually they're going to say they want to be close to the action. They want malls, they want entertainment, hangout spots, and they don't want to have to drive far to get to it. And Frisco, it meets that need, and it's meeting it better and better every day. But the question is, can you get that elsewhere for a lower price tag? There are a few other things you need to know about Frisco, okay? First of all, niche.com gives it a crime rating of B, okay? Not the worst, but certainly not top tier either. When it comes to accessibility, the city connects to the Dallas North Tollway, Highway 380, and the Sam Rayburn Tollway. But here's the catch. 2 of those routes are toll roads, and 380 is more of a busy surface road than a true highway. Plus, all 3 are pretty congested options. So you're left choosing between higher commute costs or the inconvenience of avoiding tolls. Okay, either way, it's something you need to factor in. Something else you want to know, owner occupancy rate in Frisco is 66%. So again, we're talking about a high rental component. And I would say too that overall, Frisco neighborhoods are getting older. Okay, it's not the new and shiny that you're going to find in places like Prosper and Salina. You do have some new construction in pockets, okay, like Frisco Fields, for example, but it's going to be limited. Of all the homes sold in the last 90 days, okay, I looked it up, random market analysis, the median year built was 2007. Now, that being said, the entertainment is looking good. Okay, it's not getting any older. They're adding to it all the time, but your housing choices starting to get a little sleepy. At this point, you're probably tired of hearing where not to buy, okay? But as promised, let's go ahead and talk about some alternatives where you can get a little more bang for your buck. All right, first off, let's head east from Frisco across Custer Road, where we're gonna find McKinney. Now, the 2 cities are literally right next to each other, but the median sales prices are very different. In Frisco, if you recall, we had $685,000, whereas in McKinney, we're looking at a median sales price of $491,000. And there is opportunity in McKinney. That median sales price is actually down by 9.8% year over year. And not only that, but their inventory is up 53%. So in McKinney, we're seeing a buyer's market with strong price correction. But let's talk about something that's really important in any suburb, okay? Let's talk about schools. Greatschools.org reports that 59% of students score above average in McKinney. The Texas Education Agency rated them with a B. So you can see McKinney and Frisco, their schools are not on the same playing field here when it comes to school ratings. But this is what I want you to see, okay? Of the 1,300 plus homes for sale in McKinney right now, okay, you ready for this? 179 of those are in the Frisco School District. You also have 175 in Prosper ISD, 32 are in Melissa ISD, and 25 are in Allen ISD. Those are all A+ rated school districts. So in McKinney right now, with home prices dropping and buyers having like a really competitive edge, you have 411 homes for sale within A+ rated schools. But I get, okay, what if it's not just about the school ratings for you? Okay, I get that. But you have to remember, McKinney is right next door to Frisco. So you still get the entertainment, the shopping, and the dining. So you have to give that up. So lower median sales price, a strong buyer's market, and plenty of options for A+ rated schools. Yeah, okay, McKinney is one you want to have on your radar. No surprise, another great option to consider is Salina, but I recommend looking within Prosper ISD. Okay, so that's going to be on the southern side of Salina. Okay, well, why is that? Well, greatschools.org reports that 100% of students in Prosper ISD score above average. So that's higher even than what we saw with Frisco. Plus, they have an A rating with the TEA. And guess what? Of the 945 homes currently for sale in Salina, 266 of those are in Prosper ISD. So you still have plenty to choose from. Now let's talk about market conditions in Salina. Okay, you ready for this? Salina is in what we call like crash territory. Okay, as of today, the median sales price is down 17.2%, sitting at $555,000. In fact, Salina is the hardest crashing city in the entire DFW area. So, I mean, you can expect to see some motivated sellers and just some incredible opportunity there. So, you know, if you're hoping for a transaction where the buyer calls all the shots, instead of the opposite, right, where the seller's in charge, I mean, you really do have some great opportunity in Salina. Now, I should tell you, Salina doesn't have the best amenities, but when it comes to shopping and dining, all right, but it has plenty on the Prosper side, and it's growing every day. And you're only about like somewhere around a half-hour drive to all the entertainment in Frisco. Next up, another alternative to consider, you should also put Plano on your list, okay? It lands in between the Farmers Branch and Frisco area. So if you have to commute, that could be a really good alternative for either. It's only about 30 minutes to downtown Dallas and then like 25 minutes to all your entertainment in Frisco. It's not a small suburb though, so honestly, you're not gonna be hard pressed to find like excellent shopping and dining like right within Plano. With Plano schools, we're going to see again that these are not the best, okay? About 67% are scoring above average, and you know, TEA gave them a B rating. But this is something I want you to keep in mind, okay? Of the 730 homes currently for sale in Plano, 82 are in Frisco ISD, okay? So that will give you those higher rated schools. So again, if you're strategic, you can get more bang for your buck and still get in an A+ rated district. Even if you just went with Plano ISD though, that still gives you better ratings than what we saw with Farmers Branch and Carrollton. And the homes are more affordable than they are in Frisco. Plus, we see in Plano, we're having a mild correction, okay? Their inventory also is up 63%, and homes are selling at an average of 95% of their list price. So you're far better positioned to have an advantage as a buyer here. Currently, their median sales price of $525,000 is close to the same as Farmers Branch. Now, I hope you've seen in this video, okay, that if you're new to Dallas, it is easy to think that every area is going to be the same, but that is just not the case, okay? You don't need to chase overpriced suburbs when better deals are sitting quietly just a few miles away. Now, if I've got you in the zone of finding the best suburbs, don't stop here. I've put together an entire playlist of the best and worst places to buy in Dallas, all right? If you're interested, you can check that out right here. In the meantime, this is Wendy Pinnell, and I will catch you on the next video.